York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
The weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Man, it doesn't show signs of stopping.
Especially if we live in New York. What's up, guys? The 12 Days of Fitness podcast. We're bringing back all the classic podcasts we've ever done. In today's episode, we give you guys our secret nutrition tip to maximize your training. New York Muscle Radio is flooding your podcast feed. What's up, guys? It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. Today is day 10 of our 12 Days of Fitness podcast. Can you believe that, man? Day 10. 2 days left.
It's almost time, man. Santa's coming down the chimney, huh? Do you have a chimney in your house?
Yeah, in the corner in the living room.
I'm upset. I don't have one in mine, and I never did growing up. So, when I was a kid, everyone said, oh, Santa comes down the chimney. And I always used to ask my mom, like, how's Santa coming in our house? Because we don't have a chimney. She's like, oh, he comes through the front door here.
Well, he actually, to be honest, do you ever see the Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes a chimney, even if there's not one. That's how he gets down. It's magic, man.
Right. Well, you see, my mom didn't know about the magic that Santa Claus did. So, in our house, he just came through the front door.
All right, well, Santa just broke into your house.
Yeah. Well, no, apparently he had a magic key that opened up all the doors. So he had a master key.
Well, your mom didn't forget the magic then. She remembered that part of it.
I guess so. And then he used to eat, a couple of our cookies and leave a few behind.
Actually, I saw something on Shark Tank. They have footprints. Like, you could leave, footprints of, a reindeer across your house for, the kids and, Santa's footsteps and stuff. I'm like, that's so cool. No one ever did that.
That is, yeah. We didn't have anything like that. Like I said, my parents would, if we were to put cookies out, my parents would, he would probably eat maybe half of them and leave, a half-eaten cookie. And I say, oh, Santa was here. You see, he left some cookies behind.
Yeah, the funny thing is, you're such a germaphobe. You were like, that's disgusting.
Nah, I wasn't a germaphobe when I was a kid, man.
You were?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't smart enough to become one.
Oh, really? When did you start becoming a germaphobe?
I don't know. I honestly, it's funny. I don't associate myself as a germaphobe. I definitely have some. I guess you could. I would say I'm closer to having OCD than being a germaphobe because I'm actually not afraid of germs. I'm just overly cautious of getting sick. So I do believe technically there is a difference. Whatever you want to call me. If you want to call me a germaphobe, that's fine though.
You're the Howie Mandel of fitness, man.
I don't know about that. You could call me that. I do believe he's a little more extreme than me though.
I don't know, man. I guess you have to hang out with him and find out.
I know. I was going to say, we'll put me and Howie Mandel in a room together and we'll see who comes out first.
Exactly. But guys, don't forget to check out our December sale. There's only a couple days left of that. Now you could get that entire New York Muscle Radio library, one bottle of caffeine with free shipping for one low price. So again, guys, head on over there and pick that up now. And again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I've said it every time. NewYorkMuscleRadio.com/video because big things are going to be happening there come the new year. Damn, the new year's here, man. It's so fast. December flew by.
You set any New Year's resolutions yet?
Yeah, I'm going to try to be nicer to you.
That's a good one.
I don't know, but I have until New Year's to be a dick to you, though.
Hey, man, that's fine with me. But new year, new you, right?
Yep, like everyone else on Instagram and social media. Do you actually do you have any goals this year do you want to hit? Like, honestly, what's brewing in that Big Pete mind?
Honestly, I just want to grow the podcast as much as we can. I kind of have a goal set in the back of my head. I want to set a concrete goal. The concrete goal is definitely to get into the top 10 on iTunes. So that's if you were to ask me right now what would be my number one goal for 2017, I would definitely put that right up there. So I'm gonna say my New Year's resolution right now, and it's gonna be top 10 on iTunes in 2017.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, once the New Year's comes around and everyone starts downloading fitness podcasts again, we'll probably shoot right up to that 10 mark based on how many episodes we put out this month.
You never know, man. But I definitely, after the new year, we're gonna see a lot more fitness posts going up, a lot more new goals being set for people, and it's that time of the year, and we're gonna see a significant drop off right around March, April.
I don't understand that though. For January 1st is probably the worst time to actually start dieting. If you think about it, I get it, like there's no holidays or anything left, but like it's still cold, you're still like covered up and stuff. So why would you want to start? Like I don't understand how January 1st, it's a new year, a new day. I get that, but like if you think about it, it's such a horrible day to start a diet. Like you could realistically probably start in March and be ready for summer.
I think, you know what it is? I think anybody who sets a goal to start in January is doomed to fail just by doing that, by setting a start date. It's good to set an end date. So if you're setting a goal, like if you're setting a New Year's resolution and you say you want to lose 30 pounds by June, let's just say, or whatever date it is, that's a good goal, because you're setting an end date. But when people start, put a start date, okay, I'm going to start my diet in June, I think that's usually setting themselves up for failure because, why not just start it right now? And I understand, if you have, the holidays and you have stuff coming up before, okay, I'm going to put it off till then. But whenever you put that in the back of your mind, I think subconsciously when you put a goal off to start, I think when you start, you're not going to be as motivated. You're always the most motivated right when you start. So if you're motivated because you want to get in shape for the summer, you're probably more motivated right now than you will be January 1st, especially if you put it off.
Yeah, exactly. Can't add any more to that, big guy. And I wanted to just touch upon the song today. You wanted that song, Let It Snow, by Dean Martin. That's like a classic. Why? Where did that come from? Like big
I was just feeling some Dean Martin today. I was, walking around the house this morning when I got up singing, Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
I don't know how your testosterone levels are 700, but based on the things that come out of your mouth, sometimes I question your male hormone levels.
Oh, the proof is on paper, man. I can't argue with you can't argue with paper and facts, right?
Ain't that the truth? All right, guys. Well, today I'm excited for this one for you guys to re-listen to this. I believe this was episode. I don't even have it written down, but it's got to be in the 30s. But this is the secret nutrition tip we did. Do you remember what the tip was? Don't say it. Let the listeners.
Yeah, I do, and I really can't I can't say enough about how important this tip actually is. We mentioned it pretty much only once. I mean, we've mentioned it here and there, but we only went into depth with this particular episode that you're about to listen to, and it's very, very significant, to be honest with you. I think that if you really apply this, you're definitely going to make reaching your goals a lot easier, and you're just gonna get there faster. If you don't do this, you can still reach your goals. This is not a requirement, but this is definitely a very useful tool if you're trying to optimize everything, and that's what we like to talk about on here, is how to optimize everything and make everything, do things the right way. There's ways to do it, and then there's better ways to do it, and this is definitely one of the things you can do to help you.
All right, guys, so we'll take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with the secret tip.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big Pete, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. All right, guys, we're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode number 33, the secret nutrition tip to maximizing your training. So, let's go talk a little bit about pre and post workout nutrition, because this is going to lead into our secret that me and Pete use, and we think it's definitely underrated.
So let's talk a little bit about pre and post workout nutrition, and we'll go over exactly what me and Pete both do. But basically, when you're training, you want to make sure that your body's properly fueled. So pre-workout nutrition is extremely important. You always want to make sure that you're consuming enough carbohydrates and enough protein just to fuel your workouts and make sure that your glycogen levels are topped off. It's kind of like you're going to drive cross country on a half tank of gas. That wouldn't be a smart move. So you want to make sure the stores are filled before you work out. As far as post-workout goes, you pretty much want to replenish what you've lost during training. I mean, I know bodybuilding and powerlifting training isn't really demanding on your body where you need to replenish everything right away. Kind of like, running in that sense, you need to definitely replenish the carbohydrates. But I believe that post-workout nutrition is extremely important. I mean, that 30-minute window has been debunked, but I truly believe that a good post-workout meal can really lead to good gains. Your body's going to optimally take in food rather well during that period of time, pre and post-workout. So I think if you miss those windows of opportunity, I think you limit your growth.
Yeah, I have to agree 100% on that too. I mean, I think everybody listening to this probably has at least some understanding that, as far as meals of the day besides breakfast, if you're training, your pre-workout meal and your post-workout meal are going to be the most important meals to maximizing your gains for that workout. Like Anthony said, if you don't have enough energy before your workout is going to definitely suffer. And then after the workout, when your body's broken down, all that muscle tissue, it needs to repair itself. When it's depleted all that glycogen, it needs to restore those glycogen levels. So you're going to want to get that protein in after your workout. You're going to want to get those carbs in. So, basically pre and post workout always should be fueled and then replenished. It's pretty simple and straightforward. I think a lot of people have a basic understanding of that.
So what do you do pre and post workout, Pete?
Well, in general, I mean, this goes for anybody. It's going to be different depending on them. But if we're talking about me, the general rule is always, okay, pre and post workout, you're just going to want protein and carbs. Fat's not necessarily, beneficial in that time frame. Protein, you're going to always want to space out throughout the day. Everybody knows that. But you do want protein pre-workout because you are going to be in the gym and you are going to be working out muscle tissue, and you do want your protein levels kind of tapped off. And you do want those carbohydrates in your system because that's primarily what your body is going to burn during your workout. So you do want to have carbohydrates in your system and protein. So if your body has to break down energy, it has fuel stored already. So it has its protein and your carb levels. Post-workout, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to want your protein and carbs. You're going to replenish the protein, replenish the glycogen. Now, the amount is the only thing that's going to be the variable from person to person. And in general, the amount of protein you're going to eat should be relatively the same every single meal throughout the day. So pre and post workout, that doesn't necessarily change. If you're eating 250 grams of protein over the course of 5 meals a day, then pre and post workout, or every meal you're eating about 50 grams of protein. Pre and post workout, you're going to want about 50 grams of protein pre and 50 grams of protein post. But the carbohydrates, what I like to do, and I recommend this formula for almost everybody, is as a very general rule of thumb, and this is going to depend how many carbs you're taking in the day, but let's say you're in an off-season scenario or pre-contest where you still have a decent amount of carbohydrates in your diet, splitting half of your daily carbohydrate requirements around your workout, pre and post workout. So let's say you have 400 grams of carbs a day. You want to get about 50% of them in around your workout. So, 100 grams of carbs before and after would be in my scenario where I'm eating 400 grams of carbs, let's say, and 250 grams of protein a day, I would do 50 grams of protein and 100 grams of carbs pre and post workout, the same thing. That's how I recommend it. And depending on how many grams of carbs you're eating in a day, it might change a little bit. If you're very low carb, you might even go higher than half your carbs around a workout. If you're only eating 100 grams of carbs a day, I wouldn't necessarily say do 25 and 25. It might be even higher than that. But it all depends. But as a general rule of thumb, about half your carbohydrates and the normal amount of protein you would eat from meal to meal.
Yeah, that's the same exact thing that I do. Me and Pete's nutrition philosophy doesn't really change, so I'm just not even going to elaborate on that because I agree 100%. But Pete kind of avoided my question. What do you eat pre and post workout? So
Oh, okay.
what is a typical pre-workout meal for Pete Kacharin?
Honestly, it depends, because I follow flexible dieting, so it doesn't mean that every meal is going to be the same. I do have certain foods I do kind of like to have pre and post workout. Sorry. But in general, whatever protein source I feel like having, I'll have. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whey protein shake. A lot of people have this idea in their head. I mean, it's from countless magazines and advertisements that post-workout you need to have a whey protein shake post-workout. Whey protein shakes and whey protein isolates in general do digest a lot quicker than other sources of protein. You do want a quick digesting source of protein, but like you had mentioned earlier, that whole 30-minute window thing is kind of debunked. So honestly, the most important thing is just getting protein in general post-workout. More importantly, in my opinion, honestly, is your carb sources pre and post workout. A lot of people are always afraid of having, low glycemic carbohydrates or high glycemic carbohydrates, so it has to be a clean carb. We don't want fast acting carbs, but in general, you actually do want those carbs pre and post workout. As far as food sources for that, that could be anything like having, you know, sorry, I keep coughing. I'm
Pete, you all right today?
I don't know. I think I'm catching some allergies or a cold or something over here. I don't know. I'm sipping on my water.
Poor Pete. I think he's getting hungry.
Yeah, sorry for the interruptions, but anyway, I'm a big fan. If anybody's listening to any of the other stuff, you always hear me talk about sweet potatoes. I'm a big fan, and the one reason I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes, and I do usually have chicken and sweet potatoes is like always my pre-workout meal. The reason I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes is, again, like I said, I'm having a lot of carbohydrates spaced around my workout. And you don't necessarily, I mean, it depends from person to person if you really like the feeling, but you don't necessarily want to have a huge meal where your stomach is extremely bloated before you go to the gym. No one likes working out on a full stomach. So if you're having 100 grams of carbs, you're going to want to make sure you get it from a source that doesn't necessarily bloat you. I know if I were to have it from white potatoes or white rice, I would or even brown rice. Actually, brown rice bloats me a lot more. I would be a lot more bloated pre-workout eating 100 grams of carbs from that versus something like a sweet potato. So it really just boils down to what type of food preferences you like pre and post workout. As long as it's gonna meet the requirements of enough protein and enough carbohydrates in that case. So for me personally, a meal might be about 5 ounces of chicken and a pound of sweet potatoes pre-workout.
And that's pre-workout. What about post?
Post-workout could be the same thing, but honestly, what I've been doing more lately is I basically, because my calories are so high now too, I basically just eat whatever I want as long as it fits in that, that calorie requirement for that window.
The one thing that I do is I make sure that I'm having very low in fat. I try to keep the fat in my pre and post workout meal under 10 grams of fat because you want to make sure you're getting that glycogen directly to the muscle. If you consume fat, it'll slow down the digestion of the food. So that's why I like to keep my fat low pre and post workout. I mean, there'll be days where I might have higher depending on what I want to eat, but majority of the time it's under 10 grams. And usually my pre-workout meal, and I usually work out in the morning majority of the time, is 2 cups of oatmeal, 2 servings of oatmeal. So that's around 50 grams of carbs. I'll do a scoop of my protein. I'll use either their casein blend or I'll use their regular isolate blend. I mix them together dry, and then I add the water to it. And just to get in some more carbs, I'll either add a banana or I'll actually add in, here's my secret, some Hershey's, like the Nesquik, like the powdered Nesquik. And that gives me some carbs without making me feel it. But I'm the type of person, like literally, I could eat a huge meal and then go work out. Like today, I had that breakfast. I had that in the morning for breakfast. I worked out around 2 today. So I had that for breakfast. Then a couple hours later, I had a My Protein cookie. Then, I guess pre-workout meal, I had a turkey chili from 8 Plus Meals. I had from 8 Plus Meals also I had a granola brownie, which is like 50 grams of carbs. So that right there is about 100 something. And then I worked out. So you can see it really depends, but I try to keep, like I said, the fat under 10 grams before I work out, and that usually helps me. I could definitely, like I said, I could definitely eat. I could literally eat and then go work out. That does not bother me at all. Then post workout, I kind of eat whatever I want at that point. If it's a little higher in fat, it's okay. But post workout generally I'll have like chicken and rice, chicken and sweet potato, stuff like that. Maybe I'll have a salad with chicken and some other form of carb. Like today I had a spinach salad with chicken, and I had baked chips with that as well. So you can see I keep the fat rather low, and I try to keep my carb intake kind of high. And I had some white rice with that also. So that's usually what I do pre and post workout. But now, Pete, let's do the drum roll. The missing link between pre and post workout is.
Yeah, the missing link between pre and post workout is something that no one talks about, which I find so interesting because we could have just done a whole podcast and ended it right there, and that would be acceptable to most people, not thinking about the missing piece of the puzzle, which we're going to talk about now. So, yeah, the missing link, I guess, to tie everything in together, the missing link is definitely intra-workout carbohydrate source by far. Everybody talks about the importance of getting your energy in and getting your protein in pre-workout and then replenishing that energy source post-workout and getting that protein in your system. Everyone says, you got to have the protein shake, right away. Now, nobody talks about what happens in between that time. And the interesting thing is I have to argue that intra-workout nutrition is just as important as pre-workout and post-workout, if not more important, in my opinion, because a lot of people don't understand what actually happens when you're working out as far as how your body burns energy for that workout. And if they understood that a little more, they'd understand why intra-workout carbohydrate source specifically is very, very important, especially if you weight train for a long amount of time. Me and Anthony have had workouts up to 4 hours long, which is that's ridiculous, and we don't recommend that to anybody. But I do recommend and suggest highly that if you are going to experiment with workouts that long, don't even attempt to try it without having your intra-workout nutrition on point. And the question I get a lot of times actually is, does the amount of time you work out matter? A lot of people are afraid, okay, if I work out for X amount of hours, over an hour and a half, will I overtrain? Does my body burn muscle? And my answer always is, if your pre, post, and intra-workout nutrition is on point, the amount of time you're working out doesn't matter. That's how I feel. And that's especially true when you're talking about intra-workout nutrition. I'll never recommend somebody do a 4-hour workout if they're not having intra-workout carbohydrates. And do you want to get into some of the reasons why intra-workout carbohydrates are important, or do you want me to elaborate on that a little more?
Well, I'm going to touch on something. So some of you guys listening are probably saying, all right, what is this kid talking about? We're intra-workout carbs, really, this is the secret. And I could relate to that because I was kind of the same way, like, yeah, it's such BS. It wasn't until I actually did it that I actually realized it works. So what happens is I train, I don't know, Pete could probably attest to this. I train rather hard. I'm definitely not in the gym. This is not Mickey Mouse stuff like Arnold says.
Yeah, hard is an understatement, by the way.
So I train hard. And I don't usually take breaks or anything like that. When I'm training, I'm training. And, at some point in my workout, you just kind of feel zapped. There comes to that point where you just kind of hit that wall and you're like, man, I'm done. And it wasn't until I started using carbs intra-workout at that point, a little bit before that point, that I started to feel rejuvenated, and I actually feel like I could have gotten through and pushed more and more during a workout. I think that's insane, though, because it literally works instantly. For example, me and Pete, one of the 4-hour workouts, and I'm laughing because we actually spent 4 hours working out on a couple of occasions. But during one of the 4-hour training sessions, training for our last meet, we just finished squats and bench, and we were just literally going up to deadlifts, and we were both dead. We were literally dragging to the bar. It was like our last training session of the block, and
yeah, we were 3 hours in. Also, that's an important thing to know. We were already working out for 3 hours, and then we were moving on to deadlifts.
Yeah, so we were already at that point where that pre-workout meal is gone already, and I turned to Pete. I'm like, we should eat something. He's like, yeah, what do you got? And so I went inside and I had like some fruit chew bars. I don't even know what the hell they were, but they were like 0 fat. They kind of look like a fruit roll up. Literally, we ate 4 each, so we had like about 50 grams of carbs, and it totally like woke you back up. And it wasn't until that point where I was like, wow, there's really something to this, because you really do need that little pick me up during a workout. And honestly, from that point forward, I 100% believe in it.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefits to doing this too. And one of the biggest things, and I think this is the reason why you start to feel dead and having that sugar helps you, is, a lot of people don't know the feeling or how to associate it, but like when you have low blood sugar levels, which you'll have if you haven't eaten a meal or a carbohydrate meal in a lot of hours. But any of you guys who have, went maybe like 6, 7, or 8 hours without a meal, just starving, you get that really, really sluggish feeling. You get really tired. You just have no energy, and you're starving. You can't concentrate. That's that feeling of having low blood sugar levels, and that's what you have in the morning. Generally, you'll wake up, your blood sugar levels will be lower. Post-workout, your blood sugar levels will be lower because you depleted all that glycogen, you burned through all those carbs. So basically, if you're working out for a long period of time, you're going to start getting into that state. Now, what happens is if you have intra-workout carbohydrates, you're kind of going to blunt that from happening because you're going to have a steady flow of carbohydrates in your system. So as you're working out, as your body is depleting glycogen, it's burning through glucose, you're replenishing it at the same time. So you're never really going to reach that state if you're sipping on it throughout the whole workout. The one other thing I noticed that significantly helped me when I started doing intra-workout carbohydrates is not only did it keep my energy levels high, but also my training was much more intense, and my the pump I had during my workouts never seemed to fade out. A lot of times if you train for a very long time, and this happens way before 4 hours, let's say you're just training chest or you're training arms, and you have a really good arm pump, and you're about an hour into the workout, and then you're still doing more and more sets. You're at an hour and a half now, and you're getting towards the end of your workout, but you're doing sets, and you're not really getting a bigger pump. Maybe your pump was really, really strong at the beginning of your workout, like 30 minutes into it, you had a really great pump. Now, an hour and a half into the workout, you have a pump, but it's nowhere near the same. When I started doing intra-workout carbohydrates, I would have a pump throughout the whole workout. It lasted me the whole workout. And again, that comes down to how much glycogen you're burning through. If you're having long workouts, you're doing a lot of high volume, you're burning through glucose. You're burning through a lot of carbohydrates. So sipping on them throughout the workout, or even doing something like we did, having a snack right in between where we replenish our glycogen, helps you keep that pump. It helps you keep the intensity up. And, it really doesn't matter as far as if it's right there in a one little time span where like we just ate a couple sugar bars, or if you're sipping on it, because sugar enters the bloodstream so quick. That's why it's key to have intra-workout carbohydrates that are simple carbs too.
Yeah, 100% I agree with you, buddy. There's one thing I want to touch on, but we're going to come back to it because we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So what does an intra-workout shake actually consist of? And go ahead. You want to answer that?
No. I was going to say that's actually a good point. Yeah, we are getting a little ahead of ourselves here. We're talking about how good carbs are, but we gotta tell you guys exactly what we're talking about here, right?
Me and Pete we're deprived of carbs right now, so that's all that's on our mind.
I'm actually starting to think about carbs since we're talking about them so much. I still have about 100 grams left of the day, so I gotta eat something after this.
Must be nice. I have none. So anyway, what's in an intra-workout shake? Now for me, what I like to do in intra-workout shake, and this is if I'm doing a planned one, I'll throw in, and again, this is the other part of it too. You could be flexible with this. If you don't want to waste the extra carbs on intra-workout, you can have something like 25 grams of dextrose, which is what I would recommend doing. I usually use either Carbolin by All American EFX, or I use My Protein's dextrose powder. It's just a quick, easy way to get the carbohydrates in, and the amounts are going to depend on you. So, like for us, for that workout that we needed to do, that deadlift workout, it was super intense and super important for us to hit those numbers and be 100% into the training at that time. So we needed a lot of carbs. We needed to really like wake up and feel better. Whereas, if you were doing a more standard bodybuilding type of a routine where it really did, no real pressure to train, quote unquote, You may want to use a smaller amount. So you literally use anywhere between 10 grams, upwards of up to, I wouldn't even want to say really 100. I would say 100's kind of high, but anywhere between 10 and 50 grams, I think, is more than enough to give you that boost of what you need. What I would do, and what I do, and Pete does it as well, we'll carry this stuff in our bags with us, in our gym bag, and then as we need it, we'll use it. So it's not really a set thing as far as amounts go. But what else we put in our intra-workout shake is sometimes I'll use some branched-chain amino acids also just to throw them in there. It's not a necessity to get them in there, but as long as it depends really how long your workout is. Like that 4-hour workout, we probably would have been okay having another serving of branched-chain amino acids just to spike some protein levels in our body. But that being said, it all is going to depend and vary on you. So the main thing is what's in an intra-workout shake. It can consist of mainly carbohydrates and some branched-chain amino acids.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing else in my shake that I'll throw in intra-workout. It's the base of it is kind of just a carbohydrate powder. It really could be anything. Like Anthony said, I'm a big fan of just simple carbohydrates. I'll do dextrose. Dextrose is probably what I use the most. Sometimes I'll even use Gatorade because Gatorade is actually primarily dextrose also. And the one thing I like about Gatorade actually, besides the flavoring obviously, is that Gatorade also has the electrolytes in it too. So it does help keep me hydrated. So sometimes I'll do like Gatorade and...
Do you use the Gatorade powder? Because I use that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you can use the Gatorade powder, but a lot of times I'll actually just take a bottle of Gatorade and just put a scoop of amino acids in the bottle of Gatorade. So that's usually about 35 grams of carbs. That seems to be a good middle ground for me. But like Anthony, said, like we'll carry this stuff in our bags, and like I might do 25 grams of carbs. And if we're pushing a really long workout, halfway through I'll say, I need another 25 grams. So I might have 50 grams for that day. So I'm flexible with that. But the amino acids stay basically the same. I try and get about 10 grams of amino acids, branched chains, in during that time. And I consider the carbohydrate source much more important, to be honest with you. But the longer the workout, the more important stuff like that's going to be. Just because if you're tapping through all that energy stores, all those calories, you're going to want protein in your system as well. And amino acids get digested like almost instantaneously. So you're going to want that in your system with those carbs. So, Gatorade powder, you could use Carbolin. Like he said, I like dextrose in general. The more simple the carbohydrate, the better. And whatever one doesn't seem to bother your stomach. I know a lot of people have reported with certain carb powders that they do kind of sit in their stomach and bloat them. But I'm a big fan of, just getting the dextrose in.
I gotta pause this podcast, and I really gotta laugh at my co-host here because sometimes we have people on, we have guests on the podcast, and me and Pete sometimes the guests will talk and they'll get really passionate about what they're talking about, and they'll answer all the questions that we previously had written. So Pete is getting really passionate about his carbohydrates right now that he's answering all the questions that we have posted for later. So I'm actually gonna laugh at my buddy here.
We can back it up a little bit. You have a question to ask me, Anthony?
No. So let's talk about now the timing of an intra-workout shake. So the timing is also going to be something that's going to depend, on your training, like we said, and when you need it, when you feel like you need it. I like to use it, I want to say if my workout's going to be a little over an hour and a half, I probably want to use it about midway, more toward the end, just to kind of give me that boost to finish strong, because I want to finish strong from the start of my workout to the end. I don't, and usually, and anyone could attest to this, you start out your workout, you're so strong, and then toward the end of the workout, especially if it's a smaller body part, you're kind of like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And the intra-workout carbs really prevent that from happening. So for me, I like to use it pretty much 3/4 of the way into the workout, and I like to use a small amount just to give me that boost. So that's pretty much when I time it. But again, it could be, let's just say for argument's sake, you had a really stressful day and your pre-workout meal was, maybe it got pushed back a little bit, so now you're training on 2 hours with no food. Maybe you need it earlier, maybe you need a bigger amount. It's going to depend on you. So be flexible with the timing of it. There's no real point in which you need it. But I definitely don't recommend sipping on it throughout the workout. That I think is a waste. I think that's stupid. I think you need it at a certain point in your workout. You take it, drink it all, complete it, and that's it. Because you want to get it in right away. That's why I like the dextrose powder by MyProtein. You could pick that up if you go to NewYorkMuscleRated.com, click the MyProtein banner, and you could bring you right there. I use the dextrose powder. I think that's a really quick way to get it in. or maybe some Carblin, or like we said, some Gatorade powder, but you really want to get that in quick. I pull it out of my bag, measure out what I need, 20 grams, whatever it is, 25 grams, throw it in my shaker bottle, and just chug it down, and then just continue on with my workout. You don't really want to take too much time thinking about it and, whatever. So that's pretty much how I time it. I think, Pete, pretty much you do the same. So I'm going to cut you off there because I'm not going to let you answer that. You might answer the next one. So.
I do have to say I agree, though. But yeah, let's go to the next question.
So this is another topic that I'd like to bring up. What if you're dieting? Is it still important to have an intra-workout shake? I agree 100% that it is. Like we just said, what's going to build and maintain the most muscle when you're dieting is what is going to build it in the off season. So if your intensity is not there in the gym, your body has no reason to keep muscle or make muscle, or maintain muscle. So it's important, especially when dieting, to even think about doing this. Yes, it's going to suck to sacrifice some of your carbs, to have intra-workout, but really in reality, 20 grams of carbs would probably be enough to spike what you need. And 20 grams of carbs during your workout to keep and ensure that you're going to be maintaining all the muscle that you built in the off season is well worth it, in my opinion. And plus also the other aspect of it that we didn't talk about, nutrition partitioning, basically how your body handles food around the workout is superior to any other time during the day. So you're going to get that benefit of actually using the carbohydrate, whereas it's not going to just sit in your system and do nothing. So I think that that's really important, especially for diet. I think it's more so important for dieting. I think the amount's going to depend, though. If you're having, if you're going over your carbohydrates to have an intra-workout shake, that's just stupidity.
What's funny, man? I think we're on the same wavelength tonight, too, because the two things I was going to just say, you mentioned both of them, too, the nutrient partitioning and as far as, having the 20 grams in to keep your workout intensity up. Because when you're dieting, a lot of people have this mentality that's not really ideal. And that mentality is that, okay, when I go to the gym, I want to go in and burn fat. If you're dieting and you're trying to get ready for a contest, when you're in the gym weight training, your focus should not necessarily be on trying to burn fat during the workout. Your focus should be on, okay, I want to maintain my muscle mass. And if your diet is so depleted of carbohydrates, then you need some more energy, and you add those 20 grams of carbs in. Those 20 grams of carbs are going to actually help you train more intensely. You're going to help, preserve that muscle. It's going to help you, have a strong workout. So, taking those carbs from another time of your day and putting them into your workout will actually benefit you in that time. You're not trying to, people think, oh, I shouldn't be having 20 grams of carbs when I'm working out because I'm trying to burn fat. No, you're not trying to burn fat while you're weight training. You're trying to maintain muscle mass. And, like Anthony mentioned, nutrient partitioning actually will help you use those carbs better for what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to burn fat and you're having them intra workout, you're actually going to use those carbohydrates better than if you were to use them at a different time during the day anyway. So it's actually more ideal to keep them in during your workout when you're contest prepping or dieting than to have them not there and eat them at a different time during the day.
Let's shift gears now. What about it during a bulk? Can an intra-workout shake be beneficial during a bulk? My answer, yes. And for that nutrient partitioning reason. It's an easier way to get in more carbs, definitely getting more calories in, especially when you're bulking, because the goal for bulking is to be able to be in a caloric surplus or eat more calories, for an extended period of time. So this is a good way to get in more calories without having to worry about it getting converted over to fat, which is probably happen anyway if you're in a surplus, but at least you know that what you're taking in during your workout is actually getting used. So I think it's an easy way to get carbohydrates in and give you a better ability to gain muscle. Now, another thing that I'm excited for in this offseason, once October 18th comes, which is the day after my meet, I'm doing nationals, Raw Nationals, the USAPL, and the 18th of October is when our mastermind training group starts. So for anyone who signs up for that, if you go to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com, you can click on the mastermind training tab, and you'll find out more information about that. But for those of you who are in there, you'll see I'm probably going to be training twice a day from that point, just to see if I get any benefit from it. I've never done it before, and I'm excited to see the difference in nutrition partitioning when you're training twice a day, because your body's going to utilize more food better, especially during a workout. So I'm going to be using probably 2 intra-workout carbs, during that time. So just excited to see the results from that. But for those of you in the group, you'll be able to see that. But I think definitely during a bulk, it's an easy way to get calories in. The problem with it might be is that you might not be as hungry to have a post-workout meal, and that might be a problem, but that's why I recommend staying with a small amount. Anywhere between 20 and 50 grams when you're bulking is more than enough. You definitely don't need more than that, so I wouldn't go over 50.
Yeah, the first time I actually experimented with intra-workout carbs was during a bulk, and the funny thing about it was it wasn't necessarily with performance in the gym in mind. It was more of, I got to that point in my bulk where I just didn't want to eat as many carbs and as many calories as my body was requiring to continue adding weight. For me, I get up close to 500 grams of carbs. Sometimes even I have to push it even further when I reach the height of my off season. And to be honest, I'm not like Anthony who just wants to keep eating food all the time. So when I get my calories
Pete
at
complains
high,
about everything: training, dieting, food.
sometimes I don't even want to. I get sick of food at that point. At least carbs in general.
Dude, you
So
would die if you were one of my clients. Literally have a client who's pretty much has the same metabolism as you. He's starting to finally bulk now because he was dieting for a while. He's taking in 700 grams of carbs. He's still lean. I should actually send you a picture of him.
yeah.
700 grams of carbs. What would you do with 700 grams of carbs?
I wouldn't be able to get it in. I really wouldn't. I'm telling you, 500 is enough for me. I mean, I'm at that point. I don't even want to see carbs. But the whole reason that came about was I was at that point where I was reaching 500 grams of carbs, and I found that every day by a certain time, I'd look at it and I'd only be up to like 300, 400, and be like in the evening, and I'd say, "Oh my God, I still have like another 100 grams of carbs to eat. Like I don't want to eat anymore." And I'd end up having to just have meals by themselves with just carbs in it because it was easy for me to hit my protein and my fat requirements, but carbs, it was just too much at that point. So, I started having meals where I would just after dinner, I would like maybe an hour or two later have to just get more carbs in to hit my carbs for the day. And I said, this doesn't feel right. There's got to be a better way to get these carbs in. So I started experimenting. I said, during my workout, why don't I just sip on something that has sugar in it? I would go drink Gatorade. This is an easy way to get my carbs in. And then, like I said, I started noticing, okay, my pumps were lasting longer. My energy was getting better. And I didn't necessarily see any type of difference in my physique changing in terms of, okay, I'm eating so many carbs that maybe I'm getting fat, and the nutrient partitioning was working in my favor. So I realized right away that this was definitely an optimal way to get more carbs in on a bulk. So in general, if anybody's bulking, I recommend right away, like regardless of how high your calories are, you should have that in your intra-workout shake, because why not? If your goal is to build muscle, you want to, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, you want to maximize your pre-workout nutrition, your post-workout nutrition. Why would you neglect the thing that's tying them both together, which is the intra-workout nutrition? So, if you're bulking, that's the stuff you really want to focus on.
Agreed. And there's nothing really much else I can really add to that because, like I said, me and Pete are pretty much similar, and I don't want to just make this rambling of us going on and on about how we agree on the same things. Now we could go into what Pete was jumping into before, the different sources of an intra-workout carb. So go ahead, Pete. Go ahead. Enjoy yourself. Go ahead. Just don't answer any other questions before we even get to them.
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny because, I think I first started hearing about you know what it is? These intra-workout carb sources that people starting to use have been around forever, but they're always recommended as post-workout carb sources. You always heard, way back, that post-workout you want to have your protein, but you also want to have a very good carb source. So there's been so many different types of carb powders on the market advertised for post-workout. More recently, a lot of them are advertising it as, okay, you could use it even intra-workout or pre-workout even, but these were always advertised as post-workout carbs, and I'm trying to think of some of the original ones. I mean, dextrose has been around forever. Everybody's
Vitargo.
Vitargo, that was the one too. Everyone used to always recommend, okay, just get some dextrose. It's cheap, it's sugar, and I still agree with that today 100%. But then
you used the MyProtein one, right?
Yeah, my protein dextrose, it's as simple as it gets. Dextrose is dextrose, and that's probably my favorite at this point. I've experimented with all these different powders. Vitargo was definitely the first one that I experimented with, and I think, man, I think I was in high school. Everyone was saying, "Oh, this is going to make the difference between making gains and not." Having this super, effective carbohydrate source, Vitargo, and I think it was like, I think I paid like something ridiculous, like $70 for a tub of this.
I think it's still that expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not knocking the product. Again, it's just a carbohydrate source. But like, I started, okay, at the time, my one of my family members works for a company that makes sugar products, and for free, I was getting tubs of dextrose. And I said, okay, can you give me a tub of dextrose, even though it's cheap anyway? Dextrose is not expensive, and I had
No,
free
I think
dextrose.
actually, let's pull it up quick. 11 pounds of dextrose on My Protein's website is $20.
Yeah, I mean, 11 pounds of something like Vitargo is probably like $300. I don't even know, but
Yeah, 2 pounds is only $5.
yeah, exactly. 2 pounds for $5. So I had this free dextrose, and then I had a tub of the $70 Vitargo, and I'm experimenting with both of them, and I don't notice any difference. And right away I was just like, okay, not to knock on Vitargo, but is it necessarily better or worth the money over something like dextrose? Immediately, I thought no. And then there was more products coming out. There was waxy maize, which they advertised as a high molecular carbohydrate, and they advertised it as dextrose or sugar is a very small molecule, and waxy maize is a very large one. So you have these large molecules carry the protein, into your bloodstream very fast. So the high weight molecular carbs are much more beneficial. Again, this is talking about just post workout, and we're talking more about the use of intra workout. And again, in that case, those high weight molecular carb sources are not necessarily going to be more beneficial than just getting some sugar into your system. So all these other products can be used. There's nothing wrong with them. They're going to have carbohydrates in them, and they're going to digest they're going to be absorbed very fast. So that's going to be the most important thing.
Actually, dextrose is pretty cheap on My Protein's website, 11 pounds for $20. On Amazon, there's a brand, dextrose for 10 pounds is $30. So My Protein's pretty cheap, actually.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I've seen some prices of it to be pretty expensive. I mean, a lot of people use it and label it as a bodybuilding supplement when it really is just kind of sugar, so it really shouldn't be too expensive in general. But again, all these powders, I mean, it's just going to kind of come down to personal preference. Like me and Anthony said, we've even used like sugar candies, and it kind of just gets the job done regardless. So it's going to be personal preference. If you like to drink a shake, you're going to want some, one of these carb powders or just straight up sugar. So I personally use dextrose. I've used all of them. I'm not sure if I think Carbolin might have been the only one I have not used, to be honest with you, but I've used waxy maize, I've used Vitargo, and I've never really noticed any benefits of those over something like dextrose. And a lot of people do complain about stomach discomfort, I think a little bit with waxy maize a bit. I never had an issue with that either, but again, it's just going to come down to getting those carbs in and having them absorb very quickly. So any of these will really work for that.
Yeah, the two that I usually use and work the best for me is definitely dextrose and Carbolin. Those are the two that work the best for me. Vitargo and waxy maize made me feel very bloated, and the Gatorade powder, actually, I get a weird feeling when I have the Gatorade powder. It's weird. I can't explain it. I feel like bloated after I get it, after I use it. I don't know why. But when I use dextrose or Carbolin, I feel very full. I feel like it gets to and this is definitely in my head, I don't know, but I feel like it gets directly absorbed right into my muscles. So maybe it's a bro thing or a placebo effect, but for me, those two, dextrose and Carbolin, go directly to my muscles. So that for me that works. I'm going to stick with it. But like I said, when I use waxy maize, Vitargo, or the Gatorade powder, I definitely feel bloated instantly.
Yeah, I mean, if it sits in your stomach, it's going to make you feel that way. The idea is you want it to just get absorbed as quickly as possible. You don't want it sitting in your stomach. So if it sits in your stomach, it's kind of defeating the purpose anyway. So I would avoid a carb powder that does that to you.
What are some unorthodox methods of intra-workout carbs you can use? So we mentioned our fruit chews before, which are pretty much like candy, like fruit roll-up type things. That was what we had used. I actually like doing that because it's just me personally, I like to eat my carbs rather than drink them. But sometimes it's whatever's convenient is convenient. So you could definitely do that. I mean, you've heard people having candy pre-workout, intra-workout, during their work, gummy bears, sour, whatever. But if the flavor is too strong, it's definitely going to throw you off. So that's why you got to be a little careful with that. Especially with training, you don't want to start getting, especially if you have a sour candy, then you're gonna it's gonna might throw off your brain a little bit. So for me, I'd rather just stick to a drink. or like something very plain, like maybe gummy bears or gummy worms or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, candy in general is definitely like some of the stuff I'd suggest if you're not going to drink your carbs. I mean, it sounds funny to talk about this stuff because if you had anybody in here who's a really big bro guy, it's going to sound crazy and outside the box. Like, oh, you guys eat gummy bears and Sour Patch Kids, into your workout? Like, it doesn't make any sense, But the funny thing is, I think into your workout carbs and sugar in general during a workout is starting to gain a lot more notoriety, and like it's gaining more acceptance from the bro guys, but any type of carbohydrate source that's simple that has sugar in it is definitely going to work. Candy. The funny thing is, I was talking to you about this too. This isn't even intra workout. This is post workout. But for really all you guys who don't know, Jay Cutler used to drink a can of Coca-Cola after his workout to get his post workout carbs in. So I mean, that's a guy who's known to be more of a bro, and he even understood the fact, okay, let me just get sugar in post workout. And I think he said he ate candy too post workout.
I think he did.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't talk about that they actually do apply. I mean, I don't think it's typical for, a Mr. Olympia to advertise when they ask him, like, in Muscular Development or Flex Magazine, what's your nutrition? Like, oh, I eat candy and I drink Coca-Cola. But the fact is, he's not going to say that because it's not going to sound right. But the fact is, these are beneficial things that not a lot of people talk about,
Well, I think the general population, as soon as they hear candy, they think unhealthy. And people still think in terms of food being healthy or unhealthy, and that's the wrong way to look at it, because your body doesn't see food types. It only sees carbs, calories, protein, fat, vitamins, minerals. It doesn't necessarily see food types. So that's why a lot of people got to take that out of their head. Candy is not a bad thing. It's a bad thing when you're overeating it. I'm not sitting here saying have a whole bag of gummy bears, because a whole bag of gummy bears is probably like 300 carbs. So that would be counterproductive. I'm talking about a serving of gummy bears, which is probably only like 10 to 15 gummy bears. That's the normal person probably couldn't stop at that amount. For us, those of you listening, we're dedicated. We're just looking for ways to improve our physique. We'll stop at the 10 gummy bears, whereas someone in a normal society can't.
Right, exactly. At the end of the day, it's all going to be about, okay, is it sugar? Is it carbohydrates? If it's Vitargo going down and it's 50 grams of sugar from Vitargo, if it's 50 grams of sugar coming down from gummy bears, your body's going to process it the same way. Nobody wants to admit that and look at it that way. Some people who have a very bro mindset will say, okay, Vitargo is an acceptable intra-workout carb, but like I'm not going to eat gummy bears or Sour Patch.
Yeah, but these bro guys are also the same guys who post their cheat meals, and it's like 14 double cheeseburgers from McDonald's. Or, for those are the ones that live in California, from In-N-Out. Which I'm dying to go to, by the way.
Huh?
I'm dying to go to, by the way.
I've never had an In-N-Out burger, but I've seen them in person before. When I've traveled a couple of times, I've been with people who said, oh, I got to get an In-N-Out burger. And I looked at it and I said, it just looks like a greasy burger. I don't know. It doesn't really look that good.
I don't know. I want to have it because it's like, something that's not in New York and you can't get it.
Yeah. Speaking of burgers, I don't want to change the subject too, but I've seen, I don't know where it was, but there's a place. You ever hear of a place called, it's called Whataburger. Like Whataburger?
No.
I saw something. Someone made a video going to Whataburger, and that's definitely a place I want to try. I think they have them more out in the Southwest area. But if I ever go traveling, and anybody who listens to this who knows anybody who's listening to this who had a Whataburger, let me know how it is.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio, and let us know there.
Yeah, and if not Whataburger, what is the best place that we could go get a burger and fries? Because I was actually talking to one of your clients today, and his cheat meal, he loves Five Guys, and I told him burgers and fries are definitely my favorite cheat meal, and he says after Anthony's contest, we all got to go out and get Five Guys burgers and fries. I'll treat everybody. So maybe we'll go somewhere else. I had Five Guys before.
Five Guys is not that good.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay. I mean, if I feel like if I'm gonna go get a major cheat meal, which I don't usually do, I definitely want to try something a little bit different. So
there's a place in New York that has like the 5-pound burger. I can't think. A cheeseburger. I think it's called cheeseburger.
Yeah, cheeseburger. Yeah, and you get your picture on the wall if you eat the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I've never tried doing that before.
I ate it. It wasn't that good. I went with someone. and he ate 2. I'm like, yeah, you're a fat man, and a
Wow.
shake, and a shake. I'm like, my
Wow.
God. Anyway, so what do we consider the ideal intra-workout nutrition? For me, the ideal intra-workout nutrition is just going to be enough to get you by and pick you up in the middle of your workout when you really need it. So that could be anywhere between 10 to 50 grams of carbohydrates, coming from a source that's going to work better for you. You're definitely going to have to experiment with different amounts. And if you go to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com and click on the show notes, I have the different products that we use here. You can just click each link and you'll see. I have the dextrose, carbolin, Gatorade powder, Vitargo, Waxy Maize. Definitely give it a try, each one, and see which one works best for you. Like I said, for me, my top one is dextrose and carbolin, and I go with those. Or even if you wanted to have some candy in the middle of your workout, it may be a quick way for you to do it without having to sit there and mix a shake. So whatever's going to work better for you, definitely try and play around with the amounts based on your workout. Don't be afraid to be flexible with this. This is why we like flexible dieting, because we can get flexible with it. If you feel like you need a little bit more carbs, all right, this workout, I know what's coming up is going to be a little tough here. Let me get some more carbs in, so go ahead and have the full 50 grams.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I really can't add much more to that. The staple is going to be a carb powder or any type of carb source, and some amino acids. I like to just throw at least a scoop of amino acids, sometimes 2 scoops in there, and then just adjust, like Anthony said, just the amount of carbs based on the the length of the workout, the intensity of the workout. So
Pete, do you
that's gonna
use
be
a
flexible.
branched chain amino acid before you work out?
Yeah, I've experimented a lot with branched chain amino acids. When I'm dieting, again, post intra-workout nutrition is going to be your most important things. When I'm dieting, I kind of like to have at least half a serving of the amino acid before the workout, because again, it's going to take like maybe 10, 15 minutes to get in your system. I kind of like to have it ready to go, the amino acids, because the amino acids is not going to supply the energy like the carb sources are. So just getting it in your system, you kind of want it in there right away. And then what I like to do is sip on the rest of it during my workout. So sometimes I'll actually just sip half of the aminos, then add the carb source in and finish it throughout the workout. That's kind of how I do it. But I've experimented with doing amino acids during, pre, and post-workout, and I definitely find intra-workout to be the most important time to do anything. But I like to do amino acids right before and then during. Post-workout, if you're going right into a post-workout meal, it's not as important. So having, a little bit, half the scoop or half the serving that you're going to have intra-workout, getting it in your system right away is a little more beneficial.
For me, I do it a little differently, because basically what an amino acid does is pretty much the same thing as protein does. It spikes your leucine levels, and as we know, leucine levels throughout the course of the day being spiked is what's going to trigger protein synthesis. So without getting all sciencey on you, you just want to make sure that you're having adequate amount of protein a couple times a day. 4 to 5 servings of protein and high leucine, 4 to 5 servings. So for me, I don't really do the intra-workout branched chain amino acids. I like to do a big amount before. So what I'll do is I'll have my pre-workout meal, which would be something between 30 and 40 grams of protein, and I'll actually have 5 to 10 grams of branched chain amino acids with that, just to ensure that my leucine levels are spiked. Then I'll go into my workout, I'll train, I'll let that level drop off, and then I'll have a post-workout meal. I won't have branched chain amino acids, but I'll have a post-workout meal that contains, probably anywhere between 40 and 60 grams of protein. So again, I'm hitting that threshold of leucine again. So I'm spiking it, I'm letting it drop off, and then I'm spiking it again. So that's the only reason why I like doing it. Pete, kind of does the opposite. But for me, I never really found the difference when I used branched chain amino acids intra-workout. So for my intra-workout, it's literally just carbs.
Yeah, the benefit too, it depends. Again, you mentioned this before too, when your pre-workout meal is. Some days if your pre-workout meal gets pushed back. The benefit of having the amino acids pre-workout also with the carb powder is kind of, I like to have my meal, and I recommend this to everybody else, about an hour, I'd say. If it's a full meal, about an hour. You can even go about an hour and a half if it's a nice full meal before your workout, because you want those carbs and those calories to digest. If you're just having a small snack or a shake, a half hour is fine. But let's say, you train usually an hour and a half after you eat a full meal. On a day where, maybe let's say you normally eat about three hours apart each meal, you're trying to get that workout in an hour and a half after, which is ideal for you. You don't make it to the gym right away, and you're at the gym maybe 2 hours or 2.5 hours later, and you're kind of far away from your pre-workout meal, but you're not necessarily ready for your next meal yet, and you want to get your workout in. Again, if you haven't had leucine in a while, having the branched chain amino acids right before you work out, you kind of want to, again, try and spike it right before you get in the gym. Mixed with those intra-workout carbohydrates, you can kind of put off that meal. The post-workout nutrition, you're kind of negating any negative effects of not having it close by having the good, covering yourself with the intra-workout carbs and branch chains. So that's another benefit to having the amino acids handy. So again, it's all flexibility. I'm not going to do that if I just had a meal, half hour, 45 minutes ago. I'm not going to be worried about having branch chains and carbs right at the beginning of my workout. I just filled up on protein and carbs. During the workout, if I start to run out of them, I replenish them, and then again, post-workout, replenish them once again.
All right, guys, so that's our secret nutrition tip to maximize your training and your results. And I think that it's really, like we said, underrated because it definitely makes a big difference. And if you don't believe me, give it a try. You have nothing to lose but some carbs during the day. Give it a try. Go to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. Facebook.com/NewYorkMuscleRadio, and let us know on there. Comment, tell us if you did it, if you didn't do it, what you got from it. Because I'm just curious to see what other people's reactions are, and hopefully we find people who are skeptical like I was, and we were able to convert them in. So I think it's really, really, really good topic today because it's like we said, it's really, really underrated and not spoken about. Make sure you go to iTunes and review the podcast because it's extremely important for us to reach more people and get this information out to more of us. So go and review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, and that's pretty much your homework there. And remember, if you want to pick up any of these supplements, go to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com, click on the show notes, and I have everything listed here for you, so you really don't have to do much to find it. But that's today's episode. Pete, go ahead, do the outro, bud.
All right, guys, this is Pete Anthony from New York Muscle Radio. We're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.